We have a legislative agenda. We work with our respective state representatives, senators in regards to our agenda. I'm very thankful this session. I know this is a very, very difficult session. Our budget last year was difficult. It'll be difficult this year. They have the same crisis in the state government dealing with finances and revenue. So there is a crisis. We know that. Like anything else, you always look for comprehensive legislation, and they were very, very effective this session in getting many, many things done during these very tough economic times. And I really appreciate individual leadership and their commitment to the various bills. We know the General Assembly is challenged this year on all fronts, as well as the financial condition in order to pass the budget. We understand that, and I think they'll be able to do it like anything else. They'll work together to get that accomplished, and most importantly, to move the agenda forward in quality of life, livability, as well as affordability for our residents. It affects residents all over the state as well. And I want to thank all the General Assemblies, all the members of the General Assembly for much legislation that was passed. It was very effective. It was very thoughtful, and they had good presentations, good witnesses on all the legislation, which to me was really important. We encourage Governor Quinn to sign much of the legislation. We want to ensure that we never stop fighting to pass laws that protect and improve the lives of people, especially dealing with law enforcement. The first, the General Assembly passed our proposal strengthening penalties for aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, which we pointed out is very frustrating for the police, arresting people for unlawful use of a weapon. It was like spitting on a sidewalk, and the escalation. When you get somebody who has unlawful use of a weapon, you don't do anything about it. Why, they have a chance to do anything they want. They feel, I can do anything. Our bill makes it a non-probationable offense if a person is carrying a loaded weapon and hasn't been issued a valid firearms owner's identification card. Think of that, walking down the street with a loaded weapon. It was treated like spitting on a sidewalk. Yeah, most of the time those people shot somebody or they got shot. Eventually they shot someone and they eventually got shot. I mean, the police department could cite case after case. When this law becomes, when this becomes law, people caught carrying loaded weapons, would not be let off scot-free as many of them are today. We're also pleased to say that working with our allies, we were able to ensure legislation that would have legalized the carrying of concealed weapons in Illinois did not become law. I mean, you talk about a legislative nightmare and the insurance nightmare of people carrying concealed weapons. I don't know how the private sector employers could do it. I don't think public employers could do it either. How you can have concealed weapons. We have nations of laws. We spend an enormous amount of money, of government taxpayers' money, for the federal, state, local judiciary, law enforcement, public defenders, everything. And we think laws should not settle things. We should think guns should settle things. That would be the opposite of why this country was founded. So 2 such bills were voted out of the committee because of lack of support, never came to the House floor for a vote. Next, the General Assembly approved a much-needed property tax relief for Chicagoans by extending the so-called 7% cap for another 3 years. We're very, very happy with the bill. Had the legislature not acted, property tax bills would have been up $600 higher for half of Chicago's homeowners because of loss of exemptions. That would have potentially forced many people, those could least afford to pay, and out of their homes. I want to thank Barbara Flynn Curry for her really active participation on this bill. We're very happy. This is not what we wanted, but we believe it's better than nothing. It's very important, which would have give taxpayers relief immediately. So we're very happy with that. We assure that Chicago homeowners that we will continue to advocate Springfield for a long-term property tax relief bill. And that's what you really have to do. You know, people, American dream is always own their own home, and that includes people who pay a rent, and so, you know, own an apartment building. So we really think there has to be property tax relief statewide, and it has to be for everyone. We also supported a bill that passed giving taxpayers an extra 30 days to pay their property tax due to spring 2011 without a penalty. The mismeasure passed because property tax bills are expected to go out very late this fall. The General Assembly took action that will help keep Chicago competitive in its ability to attract conventions and trade shows by passing legislation to restructure the Metropolitan, Pier, and Exposition Authority. That's a great piece of legislation. The worst economic recession in 70 years have brought into focus the competitive disadvantages of the Chicago convention industry. When you take Orlando, when you take Atlanta and Vegas, that doesn't mean we can do things. We can be very competitive. And we pay good salaries, which is really important. It was the work rules and many other things that they changed. And we'll be on a national good playing field. All the convention here, all the people bringing shows are very happy with the legislation. Mike Madigan, speaker, sat down with the unions, sat down with the business people, sat down with the convention people, the contractors, everybody, and came out with a bill which we think was it's fair to everyone. Some people don't like it, but in the long run, to keep the convention business and keep people working and keep taxes coming in. They pay an enormous amount of taxes here for Illinois. We also made some progress this session in addressing the large challenge of our public pension system. The legislature established a two-tier general pension system that would stabilize the situation, provide financial relief over time. And that bill contained short-term relief for the Chicago Public Schools by lowering its pension payment for the next several years, which will significantly cut CPS operating deficit for next year. The legislature also passed a proposal requiring financial institutions to train their frontline employees on elder financial abuse by using a training program being developed by the state of Illinois. This bill will reduce the odds that seniors throughout the state will become victims of financial abuse, and we can really help them. It passed a bill initiated by the Office for People with Disabilities, amends the Good Samaritan Act to include civil protection for individuals who provide voluntary assistance to people with disabilities and others in the evacuation of a building during an emergency. And that's really important because we don't pretend. People feel that they can't help a person disabled, they're going to be sued for some mistake they made. And so that was really important for us. The bill extended the income tax credit for affordable housing donations through the taxable year ending on December 31, 2016, which was really helpful. Chicago and other cities rely on this tax credit as a powerful incentive to leverage private sector donations to help finance affordable housing. It approved legislation that expands emergency medical services for veterans by allowing our ambulances to take veterans to VA hospital with the approval of the State Department of Public Health, which is really important. It approved a bill that would save the taxpayers millions of dollars on new public construction projects by clarifying where clean construction debris can be deposited. And finally, it approved a bill initiated by the city's Department of Revenue, which enables the city to lift the suspension of a driver's license lost for non-payment of fines and penalties if the driver signs up for a payment plan. These are many pieces of unfinished business in Springfield, but I want to mention two important ones. Of course, first is education. I think they all agree with us that everybody knows that education is the highest priority, even with them individually and us collectively here, both House members and Senate, and of course aldermen and the mayor. We understand these are tough times, but you know, the key is education, and I know we're going to have some tough, difficult times, but we can all work together to provide, I believe, less painful situations ahead of us, and we can all work together, both the employer, both the union, both the city council, the general assembly, and moving our schools forward, which is the key. Also, of course, all the concerns that we have, whether class size or reduced classroom personnel, other cuts, early child, and all those things are there, and everybody's looking at them. So, like anything else, we all have to come through with this and an understanding dealing with our education. Also, we also urge the legislature to pass our proposal requiring banks or other responsible parties in Chicago to maintain their foreclosed properties so the costs do not fall on the taxpayers. We think that's really important because we're in the dilemma of who's responsible for this. And that's, you know, everybody's pointing fingers, and we're sitting trying to figure this out, all the homeowners and the aldermen, everybody's trying to figure out who's responsible for the property and the end result. We can't wait 4 or 5 years because this abandoned building has a huge detrimental effect upon the quality of life of those blocks and those communities. So that is something. We have some of the toughest local laws in the nation when it comes to requiring banks to maintain vacant property they own as a result of foreclosure, but current law does not adequately address who's responsible for the property during the foreclosure process. And the foreclosure process could be 2, 3, 4 years. So if the homeowner has already abandoned it, we need Springfield to help on this one. I know it is controversial, but someone has to take ownership. And when the person abandons the property, if we don't have someone go in there, that becomes a real liability. And we're keeping up-to-date information on all the costs of the city going to that building, whether inspectors, streets and sanitation, police, fire department, all of them. We constantly address that. And so I am very thankful. I think this is a very effective session of the General Assembly. I don't care what any says. You know, budgets are tough. Everybody knows that. In Washington, they're tough. I mean, at least they handle these situations. I'm very thankful on behalf of the people of the city of Chicago for passing this legislation. I really appreciate that. Thank you.